Hello, everybody, and welcome to a brand new episode of the Bloody Brilliant podcast. I am Jamie, and as always, joined by Emma. Yes, I pointed the right way that time. There you go. I always point the wrong way. I don't know why my camera does it the opposite way. For all of those viewing, I pointed the right way. For all of those listening, I pointed the right way. So it's all good. Welcome to this episode. We are going to be talking. I know Emma's really excited about this one. It's video games, in particular the horror aspect of the video game. So, how did you prepare for this one, Emma? Did you play a lot of games?
So I didn't because I've just not had the time. But if anyone's been following on our Instagram, I have tried to put some regular posting on there. I haven't put a post on there for today yet because I was going to do it post filming. But just put in a little bit of couple of questions. Just seeing testing the waters, what other people think.
It's
Yeah.
good thing so, because I saw that you've got the Silent Hill vinyl. I've got the Last of Us one, but it's still packaged, and I don't want to take it out. Otherwise, I would have obviously taken a picture of that. But it's a beautiful, coloured vinyl for the Last of Us, the first one. But
Yeah.
you're not
I've
getting a
got
picture of that disc unless we steal it off Mondo's website.
yeah. So I have Silent Hill 1 and 2. Both from Mondo. And then I've also got Resident Evil 1, like the original soundtrack, on its way from I don't know where. I just got sad one time and I was like, purchase, because purchases make me feel happy.
Purchased from Silent Hill because it's never going to come. And I could,
Literally.
and for those of you who aren't watching, Emma is also wearing a Resident Evil 3 Last Escape t-shirt. I mean, if she doesn't talk about Resident Evil on this podcast, no idea what's going on.
It's even got the picture of the Stars team on the back, but it's so awkward to turn around on this little couch. I ain't even doing it for you. Yeah,
And
I'll
you
post a
got,
picture on the Instagram, guys.
is that like the raccoons? Is that what they're called on the side? Is it called
It's
raccoon?
No, this is
The logo,
Umbrella,
umbrella.
and then that's the stars from the Raccoon City
Yeah, I
Police
knew there's
Department.
something
Yeah,
to do
yeah,
with a raccoon.
yeah.
As you
Raccoon
can tell,
City.
I'm not a massive Resident Evil fan, so I knew there was stuff to do with umbrellas and raccoons, and there you go. I mean, as everybody that has listened before, if you haven't listened before, we usually do these every 2 weeks. We'll have an episode where we analyse a film chosen by one of us, and the other 2 weeks would be us talking about a specific genre, a specific trope, or specific type of horror. We've already done the horror films, horror TV shows, and we are on horror gaming right now. So I mean, let's just get into it. I mean, we'll start off generic because I'm sure as a young kid, unless you're Emma, you didn't really just go straight into horror video games. You probably played some video games. So, what was your first introductions to video games? Did you have all the consoles? Was it have a here's my Dreamcast, here's N64?
No, so I didn't have anything like that. The first console I had was a PlayStation 1, and I shared it with my sister. And I remember we didn't have mini games on it. We had Scooby Doo and the Cyber Chase. That was like the first like game we had on it. I guess you could say that was like my first introduction to horror, but that'd be like a very sort of generic answer. It's also not very scary. But
I had it on a Game Boy Advance. What a game that was!
uh yeah, I'm trying to think. I definitely had a PlayStation 1. We definitely had Game Boys SPs, the little square ones.
Mm-hmm.
And I used to have a game on that was called Castle Weenie. Doubt anyone's ever heard of it, but it was basically you were dressed up as two little kids. One was a little witch and one was a devil, and you were trying to make your way out. You'd stumbled into like a castle and you were trying to make your way out on Halloween. But before all that, because we had, well, especially I don't. Yeah, you did as well. I had the luck of growing up in Blackpool where there's loads of arcades. My first introduction was the House of the Dead games, like the shoot 'em ups
Mm-hmm.
in the arcade. I probably spent enough on those. My poor parents did, that I could have probably bought another console, or even the House of the Dead game on the Wii when it finally came out.
Yeah, I remember, especially around Coral Island, you played that or Time Crisis, so you got to used to doing all the shooting stuff.
Yeah.
But I said I'm a little bit older than you. I used to have I can't remember what console it was now. I think it would have been a Sega Mega System, and I actually had it was some kind of war game, but you actually got a gun with it. Like, you used to get all the accessories for your consoles. I had a little gun, and it was like this shooting game. So when I went to the arcade, I was used to that. I was amazing. But
you were a crack
Time
shot.
Crisis, I'm the crack shot, as they would say. Yeah, but yeah, like I said, what was the video? What was it called in Coraline again? House Left of the Dead. Was it called House of the
Dead? Yeah.
House of Dead. Yeah, I think that's, but especially like to have that in an arcade where kids can walk around and probably play it, like there's no age restriction on them. Like they have the casino age restricted 18 plus.
Yeah.
There you go, kids. Let's go shoot some zombies.
Yeah. It's great. It was always great as well because it would always be House of the Dead 2 or 3. Where was House of the Dead 1? I do not know. I don't know the context of the games. But yeah, just, like you say, Coral Island. And it was always like you'd go to Coral Island to collect the little like tickets, and I'd always choose the games that didn't have any little tickets associated to it.
Yeah,
So
so
it'd just
be wasting
be
money.
basically wasting my parents' money. Pound here, pound there, and it all adds up, doesn't it? But yeah, that was my first introduction into Castle Weenie. That was it, but I had it on the SD. That is the exact game. Oh my god. For those who aren't watching, Jamie has managed to find a picture of Castle Weenie. That's brought back so many memories. I think I have it still. Oh my god.
Yeah, I found there was one on PS2 and one on Game Boy Advance.
Yeah, that the little SP square ones.
And there's also like a spin-off called Spirits and Spells.
Oh, I didn't get that deep.
But yeah, Castle Weenie with a little devil and a witch there. I think it's a bit of an awkward episode for me, this one, because I'm not a massive horror gaming fan. Like, if for people that know me, like the only time I ever go on my console would be to play FIFA or Call of Duty. Like, that's all I really play. There's a few story games that I've played, but
I was gonna say I thought you were an Uncharted fan.
Yeah, like I said, there's a few story games that I've played. But anytime, like now, I'd go on, it would be like, go to play FIFA. I play FIFA every year, Call of Duty most years. So that's all I really play. So I haven't actually finished a game in ages. I still haven't completed Last of Us 2 yet. And I'm like a massive Last of Us fan. I said I'll try. I mean, just because I said I tried doesn't mean I actually complete it. But I do have a Last of Us tattoo. So there it is. I've completed number 1. The fireflies aren't in number 2, so I can still hold my tattoo up high. So well, they kind of are in number 2, but yeah, I think the earliest memories that I have playing those type of games, there was a game on PlayStation, because like I said, I had N64, Sega Mega System, PlayStation 1, and then PlayStation 2, and like you got graphic games like Grand Theft Auto and stuff like that, but again, they're not horror, but they are bloody. And there was a game called Alone in the Dark. I'm pretty sure that's what it's called. And you're just this guy around London, just like fog everywhere. Is that alright? That's all I remember from the game. No idea what the story was, but you're just this guy in the dark London street with fog, and that's all I remember early on. Yeah, and I remember playing Resident Evil, and I bought the remastered one when it came out on PS3, PS4, just to see if I would like it, and I couldn't do it. Sorry.
So I was going to say, the Resident Evil remaster, the like one that originally got made for GameCube, that in the actual mansion, it's the. I ended up getting into a thing of I'm a really bad achievement hunter, and that was like the first game where I was just like, I need to get these achievements. I still haven't got them all because a lot of them are like time restricted, and I'm really not good at being time restricted or limited saves. But I think sometimes where it's hard with that game is that it was like some of the like puzzles are a bit hard, especially for like the time. Also, the camera angle changes are really jarring if you're not used to like that kind of sort of thing. It's literally like you're walking down a corridor and you're looking at the CCTV cameras of that like corridor, and it will just like instantly switch. That was definitely something that I had to like get used to.
Yeah, and I mean, I know what you mean when you say an achievement hunter. The first game I really wanted to platinum was The Last of Us, and there's only 2 achievements that I need to do on the game to actually platinum it. platinum it on PS3 when it first came out, because obviously it got remastered onto PS4, and then Last of Us 2 came out on PS4 as well. But it's the only way you can platinum it is you play it online.
Right.
And the online gameplay isn't the best on The Last of Us, but basically you have to complete the online story as a survivor and complete it as a hunter and a survivor, something along those lines. And it's just a really long, because you have to play about 50 games, each of them, to like complete the story or something like that. So I never got round to it, but I completed the game on the hardest difficulty twice, because you have to do it on a plus game as well. And yeah, but that online stopped me from getting my platinum. So my first platinum trophy, my only platinum trophy on PlayStation is Spider-Man.
Spider-Man. I mean, a very valiant game to have it on.
Game.
Yeah, it's a good game to get it on. I think talking of like game, so how I'm trying to say it. I've got something in my head and it's not coming out. It's like games consoles as I got older. We ended up getting a Wii, and House of the Dead was on Wii. And again, like you were saying before, with like the little like accessories that make it into a gun. I was never allowed that because my parents had this thing about guns, so I was never allowed that. But I did have another game, not necessarily a horror game, but following on from our conversation about eyes and needles and things like that from the last podcast, I had one and it was called Trauma Center Second Opinion, and it was an like an anime game. So everyone was on anime, everything was drawn anime, and you were a surgeon and you had to operate on people, but there was this like infectious microbe that was getting infected into people, called guilt, and it was like a little worm that was pointy, and it would literally like rip this person's like arteries and everything, and you'd have to like stitch up after it. That terrified me so badly, but it was another game that I was like, I have to get S tier on every single surgery or I will cry because I'm not putting myself through this trauma.
And was this like a kids game as well? Like, I'm sure it probably wasn't like proper blood or anything, was there?
No, so it was kind of like I'm trying to think of an example of it. There isn't really an example of it. It is literally like you're like suturing wounds, like anti-bac in it, like all that sort of stuff. And then it's like there's like a full-on story. Essentially, it's about like bioterrorism. That's like the whole story of it. And you're like a surgeon. You're the only surgeon that can operate on guilt patients. It was. I don't know why. It just terrified me.
Yeah,
But I think that's a medical fear in me.
I remember seeing this. It was always like 50p. This game. I'm pretty sure.
I
like
loved
everywhere
it.
you went.
I loved it, but it didn't get very good reviews. No.
No, I mean, like I said, it definitely looks like a proper like anime TV show, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Like, here is your Yu-Gi-Oh game, but you're all like doctors.
Literally. Yeah, and you had to like train up to be a surgeon, and you had like this storyline of like going all round to sort out these patients. I can't remember how it ends, but it was just a lot of surgery, and that terrified me as a child, definitely.
You could like, because again, like with the Wii, you have to like move it around and stuff. I mean, it kind of nicely goes on to VR, because Wii was kind of like an early bit of VR, really. Except the only difference was that you had the goggles. And again, I tried Resident Evil Village, but as you know, and you might talk about it later on, but Resident Evil Village is first person, and you're putting that VR on, you want to throw up, because it's the motion sickness of moving around left and right, and then the camera angles in Resident Evil, and all of a sudden you've got some Bloody Mary woman coming at you. I say Bloody Mary, it's just a woman in a white gown, but you know.
I am really bad for so one of the games that I was going to very briefly touch on was the Evil Within franchise, and if for anyone that's played Evil Within, it's just a standard sort of like shoot 'em up, storyline driven psychological horror film, but the saving and the camera moves so quickly. The savings of flashing like throbbing light to like go into a different dimension. I get so many bad migraines. I can only play like a tiny fraction at a time. I still haven't finished the first one
Same.
because I can't. It's a great game, and I really want to know how it ends. And you know what? I've never had it spoiled, the ending, and I don't know how that's managed. I've managed that, but I have this first one and second one, but I can't even make it through the first one.
So listeners, please don't comment the ending to this. I mean,
Yeah,
if
don't.
you want to, it's fine.
I mean, if you do, like, I'm not one of those people that cries over spoilers, but I mean, I feel like I'm accomplished for not getting spoiled this far.
And they did a second one, didn't they? So I remember buying the second one, but still not completing the first one. But I was like, oh, maybe I'll complete the first one now before I play the second one. I got it for like 10 quid. I didn't buy it full price when it came out. But I remember really enjoying it. And this is one of the things that I really enjoy games, but I just can't find the time to put into a story game. Or I'm one of those people. I can't just go, I'll play an hour here, save it, play half an hour here, save it. I have to sit there and play for about 4 or 5 hours and play it that way. And that's why I haven't completed Last of Us 2 yet, because I just don't have the time to sit there and play it and give it the playtime it deserves, because it is a phenomenal game, Last of Us Part 2. I just haven't finished it yet.
Yeah, I absolutely get that. I think that's why it took me so long. So, I've always been interested in video games, and I've casually played like on, especially on handheld devices, but until I moved jobs, so only in the last like couple of like 3-4 years have I really like been able to get the time to actually drill in hours and hours and hours into games.
Yeah.
And the most recent lockdowns and things like that as well that we've had is really just like given me all that time to just sink hours, days, or weeks into
Well,
games.
some of us still have to work, so we didn't have the time.
Yeah, I know. I feel bad because I had the pleasure of being furloughed. Obviously not the greatest circumstances anyway, but furloughed. At least it was furloughed. And Ed still worked for everything, so I was like staying up till like 5 o'clock in the morning playing video games, and then he was
Living the
getting
life.
up for work, and we were just like passing ships, even though we were like in the same flat.
So you're talking just about the recent pandemic and stuff. Has there been any recent horror games that you've just absolutely loved? I mean, we all know what's coming here, so go on.
So I'm not actually going to talk about straight away what you think I'm going to talk about. I don't think.
Okay.
So in February, I completed in one weekend the Little Nightmares 2. That was probably one of the most anticipated games of my short gaming life, because I have a Little Nightmares tattoo on my arm. And then when the second one came out, I was really excited because obviously we get a third character in Mono, which is the little male character to go to Six, which is a little girl character. And the ending threw me through a loop, and I was just like, what? But I really, really enjoyed it, and I think it was not massively overhyped, and I think that's what kind of puts me off a lot of games. So things like The Last of Us, I just am not very interested because I've seen enough playthroughs of it. I'm just like, I don't think I'd really enjoy that game. Whereas like a lot of the games that I have played, like Little Nightmares and the Resident Evils, I haven't seen enough gameplay, mainly because Resident Evils are old. Like for the most part, they're not really until recently. Obviously, with the revives we've had of like 2, 3, 7, and 8, I've kind of just been able to like live in ignorant bliss until I played them. But that was the one, and then obviously Resident Evil 8. But I won't go too much in depth in that one yet. Hey,
I'll put a little
Resident
picture of
Evil.
Resident
But
Yeah.
yeah, when I say I absolutely sobbed at the end of Resident Evil 8 Village, I was inconsolable. I went through a grieving process.
Wow.
What about you?
Again, I'm trying to think of my most recent game that I really enjoyed was like 2015. Do you count that? Probably not. So, I mean, it's going to be something like The Last of Us Part 2, and I haven't even completed it. Like I said, with Last of Us, I mean, this is probably going to hit 2 criteria here for us, but The Last of Us is like one of the greatest games ever made. It's like top of nearly every single chart when you talk about ratings and stuff. And just the dynamics between Joel and Ellie, and especially in The Last of Us Part 2 as well, with everything that happens at the beginning of that and later on as well. It's just absolutely phenomenal. And when I complete it, I'll talk about it a little bit more, but I can't give it justice because I haven't completed it yet. But going back a little bit, then I'm going to talk about the 2015 one. And this was one of my most hyped games that I really, 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 really wanted to play. It stars Rami Malek and it stars Hayden Panettiere, and it is Until Dawn. Like,
Yes.
what a game!
That is a great game.
Like, it's just perfect storytelling, because these are the type of games that I absolutely adore, where you can control everything that happens within this game. If somebody dies, don't matter, your story will continue. You want to kill someone, just kill them. Just kill them, it's fine.
just
I mean,
kill him.
you can just shoot them, can't you? Just be like, yeah, I'm just going to get caught. And the way that it is, like, it starts like a horror film, and it's right at the beginning and everything happens there, and all of a sudden halfway through it just goes, oh no, we're going to go in this direction now. And it's like, what's just happened? What's just happened right now? It's a phenomenal game, and my only mission in that game was Hayden Panettiere survives. Don't care about anyone else. As long as she survives, don't care.
So, me and Ed...
And she did. So.
Well, I'm glad she did for your run, because me and Ed played Until Dawn, and again, Ed was very much on the same thing as you, where he was like, Hayden Panettiere has to live. She has to live. And to be fair, she's not really in the game, not a playable character anyway, in the game that whole much. So it's very limited at how many times she can actually end up dying. Well, it got to like the pinnacle point in the storyline, and Ed kind of like moved a little bit when it was supposed to be a stay still like thing, and instantly gone, just gone, and he was so angry. He was so angry. It was very funny. But I think Until Dawn is great. Have you played Man of Medan or Little Hope that followed?
What, you mean those right there? No, I have not.
Those ones that you've already got ready. Look at him.
Yeah,
Mind reader.
because it's the same company that made them.
Yep.
And it's something. These are, I can't remember what they're called now. They're like
anthologies.
The dark anthologies they're called, aren't
Yeah.
they? The dark anthologies. And there's about 3 so far, I believe. You've got
2.
Man of Maiden, Little
Man
Hope.
of Medan, Little Hope, and there isn't a third one yet.
Oh, fair enough. I've probably just read the one that's coming out then. I can't remember what it was, but yeah, I mean, you've played them, I haven't, but I assume that they're kind of the similar vein where you have to run, like, you've got to stay still, or you've got to, like, it's really, I can't remember what the official term for them is, where you've got to, like, press a button in action time.
It's a quick time something, isn't it? Quick time
something. We'll go with quick time
event. Quick time event. QTE. Quick time event.
The QTEs.
Yeah.
And again, yeah.
I was gonna say I am terrible at QTEs. Terrible. So when Until Dawn you get given the character that you are going to play. So this sort of part of the story is to do with Josh or whatever. Carry on. In Little Hope, you can choose who in your like party plays each character. So, myself and Ed split the characters between ourselves. We tend to take like one male, one female character, where we can each, depending on obviously the mix of the characters. So that's nice. But I always end up getting the ones that have all the QTEs, and then never goes well.
I was just going to say about that, it officially comes out on the 22nd of October, and it is called House of Ashes, the third one.
What, this year?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god. Okay, excited.
22nd October 2021, the Dark Pictures Anthology, House of Ashes, available on Microsoft Windows, PS4, PS5, Xbox One, and Xbox Series X/S. You're welcome for the plug, guys, if you want to sponsor us. There you go.
Please.
But no, like I said, the butterfly effect games, is it similar in these dark anthologies as well, where the butterfly effect happens, like something that you do earlier on in the game will affect something later on? Because I can't think there's a lot of games that this company have done. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's one of those things of like, like so and so will remember that, or so and so like appreciated that. So that kind of keeps on. There's always like a it's always, I think it just the end of the story is always the same, which again is pretty much the same with Until Dawn. It just depends on who. It may change slightly on who ends up being in the end of the game. But I think one of the things as well with it is that we were necessarily brought in not by like the games themselves, but like the actors that put their faces to these characters. I think obviously Until Dawn's got quite like notable people on that roster, whereas like Little Hope has I absolutely forget his name, but he plays Troy in no wait, not Little Hope didn't. No, it had Will Poulter in it. Mana Madan had Troy from Veronica Mars, so that's very niche for me. But he was also in The Boys, I believe. I don't know him from anything else, but he's got one of those faces, and you're like, ah, yes, he's a celebrity. I know that face.
Have a look.
And I
Man
think
of the
that's
Night
probably what
plays
makes
Troy.
he plays Troy
Let's have
in
a-
Veronica Mars. I forget what his character is in Man of Medan.
Oh, you talk about
It's been a
Sean
while.
Ashmore.
Yeah, him. That one. Him. He's in The Boys. I'm right.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, he is in The Boys. He's only in like one or two, but yeah, he's like in The Following, and for any of
See.
those that play on the Xbox, Quantum Break as well, like the first big proper Xbox game, isn't it? Quantum Break.
Yep, I have heard of that one actually. I did not know that was him. Well, there you go. There you go.
You go,
But again,
there you go. She's probably gonna play that now.
but there you go. I'm gonna go play just for him. It's I think it brings in people who may not necessarily choose this genre. Again, I think we kind of spoke about this about mainstream horror and things like that in a couple of episodes ago, but it is definitely a nice like sort
Yeah, I think one of the
of
things.
edge way into, and I think they're nice to play as party. I don't know if we had a bit of delay there. Apologies if we did.
It's okay. It's kind of like
Um,
cutting out a little bit.
yeah, but basically, yeah, they're really good party games. If you like, again, they come out around about Halloween, so they're really good for like little stay-in nights.
Yeah, I remember we talked about Butterfly Effect and stuff. I'm not sure if you ever played it. It's not horror, but it's kind of what got me into the Butterfly Effect games. Is Heavy Rain. Like Heavy Rain is again one of the best PS3 games like
I
ever. I
see.
mean,
I would kind of. It's not necessarily horror, but it's like a psychological game, isn't it? It's like a true crimey kind of game, isn't it? Isn't it? So I
yeah,
would kind of class that in this genre. I think it doesn't necessarily always need to be scary, as in like, boo, jump scare. I think sometimes if you find it unsettling or unnerving, it should be classed. But yeah, no, I haven't played it, but I have seen a lot about it, and I would play it. I would play it now,
there's like,
so I'd just be playing it for the sake of playing it.
there's like a great moment in there though where you're the main character and it's kind of like Saw where he gets trapped and he has to choose whether he wants to rip his own like fingers off or something like that. And it was just like a
Ooh.
grueling moment. I think he's like fingers stuck and he has to like decide to put like he has to chop it off or do something. I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was beautiful because you're having to chop it off by like moving your controller up and down. And
Ah.
but the Quantic Dream, like the ones that did that, they did Heavy Rain, Beyond Two Souls, and they also did Detroit Become Human. Like those
Mhm.
games, I played all of them. Like they're phenomenal games. Like Quantic Dream are probably one of my favorite developers, and all of those stories are similar to Until Dawn, where you can change everything as you go. Like in Detroit Become Human, you can choose whether you want to be a good robot or a bad robot, like join the revolution. Because you play with about two or three characters in Detroit and Heavy Rain, and all of your choices, like obviously weave the narrative towards the end point. Who's going to survive? Who's not going to survive? Are you going to solve the mystery? What's going to happen in the end of it? And like I said, the Quantic Dream games are just absolutely phenomenal, and that's why I love Until Dawn as well so much. When Supermassive Games did it, with Until Dawn and the Butterfly Effect. It's just so good. So I do need to play the Dark Anthologies games because they're definitely up my street. Just obviously haven't had time to actually play them, unfortunately. But Until Dawn, like, is just great. And Hayden Panettiere, like I said, I know when you were talking about before, like Hayden Panettiere, like you accidentally killed her, and you had to do it. Like my main thing was like she had to survive, and the good thing about it is you can play from different chapters as well. So once you've completed the game, you can go back and obviously try and keep this person alive, and then replay the story again through that narrative. So when I completed the game, I think two characters died when I first played it, and I wanted to obviously make sure everybody survived at the end to get that final trophy. So I went back, made sure the two people that died survived, and then, like I said, they came back, and then we did it that way, and it was just great because it gives you so many different options, and there's so much great, what's the word I'm looking for now, replayability of it, like the replayability of that game. You can just keep playing it and playing it, and the story is just different each time because you can have somebody die or something changes everything. And like you said before, I think there's a bit in Until Dawn where I want to say Chris and Ashley, I'm not sure if I've got the character names right there, where they're both tied up in a chair, and I think it's just before the actual game like changes itself. Like you got Chris and Ashley just looking at each other, and he has to decide whether to shoot her or not, and it's just, like I said, it just completely changes like the story. So when I got to the end, I made sure I replayed it so everybody survived. So when you said Hayden Panettiere died in Until Dawn, did you have to replay it again to make sure she survived?
So no, just purely for the fact that we played it on Game Pass, I believe. Oh no, not Game Pass. No, we didn't. Oh, maybe we did have it still. For some reason,
PS
we didn't.
Plus.
PS, but yeah, we. For some reason, we haven't played it again. Maybe Ed was just too sad. Maybe he was just too sad. We also did it in like one night, so we stayed up till like past 1 o'clock in the morning, and I think we were both just so knackered. We were like, no.
Yeah.
I can't look at this again right now.
To be fair though, those games I was talking about before with the Quantic Dreams, I did Detroit in one day. Like it's just one of those games. Again, like I said earlier, you just have to sit there and just play it. And they're not really long games, so I'd happily play them, and I'll just sit there and actually play it. Whereas you got other stuff like Last of Us is going into your 20+ hours. I mean, GTA is like 30+ hours. I completed it on PS3, then they released it on PS4. Now they're releasing it on PS5. I'm not gonna play that story mode again.
No.
Like,
this is the thing as well. Like, I think games like these have the longevity to. You can play them in one sitting, but because there is these different options and different people to survive and things like that, it makes you kind of want to play it again for the most part. Like on my Xbox, I get the little achievement notifications to say like you're 10% away from achieving this achievement, and it could literally only be for like 10 points, and I'm like, I need it. I'm so close.
yeah, I think you don't really get like notifications on the PlayStation. Obviously, like you said, you're mainly on Xbox.
Mm-hmm.
I've always been PlayStation. I do have the Xbox One S, but I don't really play it. I got like the One S because it was like 80 quid from games. So I was like, yeah, why not? Because I traded in my old Xbox One for it. But PS5 day one because I'm a Sony boy, always have been. So
yeah, I'm really lucky because obviously with most me and Ed being into video games, we pretty much have most consoles. So we have PS4, a PS4, Xbox, a Switch Lite, and I have a DS somewhere, and Ed has a PSP somewhere. We have a lot.
Yeah, I remember I got PS Vita. The PS Vita I used to play all the time, just Metal Gear Solid. I think
Maybe
that's
the one. Maybe that's the one he's got.
Yeah, there was a PSP, which were like the original ones, and the PS Vita. You could like cross play with your PS4. It's got like a weird touchscreen on the back as well.
Ooh, because the only reason I asked is because I asked him why if he had one. It was because Silent Hill, like their other like games, are really hard to get. Like if they're not ported, and even the ports are. Everyone's like, "Oh, you're not even playing the real game if you're playing like a port." And I'm like, "Do you know what? It's all I can get access to, so whatever." But I think there's like one of them that's on the Vita, and Ed was like, "Oh, I have one of those," and I was like, "Do you? Does that mean I can access this game?" We haven't tried it. We haven't seen if it turns on, but yeah. I guess this is probably the best place to talk about it, because it's technically recent horror video games, but also kind of branches over into probably the next question. But Dead by Daylight comes into both recent horror games and favorite horror games for me. Hey, got the picture ready and everything.
Yeah.
I love Dead by Daylight. I'm not going to talk about it too much because I find that Dead by Daylight is it's a very polarizing game. Either people love it or they hate it, or they
And it's
hate.
only a 1 hour podcast, and you'll be here
Yeah,
for 2 hours.
exactly. And also I think the thing with Dead by Daylight as well is that it covers into other games. It has not only its own characters but also hosts a lot of iconic horror and video games and also film like characters. Um, and I just love it. I just think it's great. I try not to get involved in the toxic fandom, but also most of the fandom's really nice. But yeah, that was just my 2 pence on Dead by Daylight because it leads me into my main favorite, which is Resident Evil, which we've already spoken about. But I'll let you have a chat before I go back into Resident
There is
Evil if you'd
Resident,
like.
but yeah, like I said, Dead by Daylight is one of those games that you think really excited for. There was a game just before Dead by Daylight that did come out, which was a Kickstarter, and it was the Friday the 13th, the game. And I got that day one when it first came out because I was so excited for it. It's
I remember.
such a fun game. And like I said, you're either, for people that don't know, on Friday the 13th, you are either Jason, and you get to unlock different characters or abilities from over the 10 Friday the 13th films, or how many ever there are. And you either the 5 counselors, and what you have to do is like solve puzzles or do little activities to get a car generator working so you can actually escape the camp and away from Jason. And I think because of the success and the audience for that, I think that's why Dead by Daylight came out. I think originally it was a Steam game, wasn't it? And then it was ported over to console, and they do allow cross-play between them all.
Yeah.
Because I know I played it once, Dead by Daylight. I mean, I out survived all of the other survivors. I mean, I did die in the end by the pig from Saw, but I had beat everyone else. You blew up right in front of me.
I was literally just about to say, I knew you brought this in to dig at me because I was like, come on, Jamie, play Dead by Daylight with me. You're like, oh, I've never played. I was like, come on, we'll play. And I was like, trying to run around and do gens and be like, oh, it's the pig, blah, 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 da, 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 and then tell you all this information. And then I came and got you off the hook, let my own self die by a reverse bear trap. And you were like, oh, some randoms just like died in front of me. And I was like, that's me. That's me.
Just blown up in front of me. I had no
He's
idea
like,
what was going on.
she's just let her head like get like with the bear trap. I was like, yeah, that's me. I died for you. I died for your sins.
I was the
But yeah.
last one standing. There you go. So easy game, completed it, mate.
Easy.
I don't think I played a lot as the killer though. I think on Friday the 13th, I think I may have only been chased like once or twice. Obviously, I haven't been the killer on Dead by like Daylight because I've only played one game. But
I think in these one versus a group of people games, I mean, obviously there's the Resident Evil version as well, which is Resident Evil Resistance, where you get to play as either like a villain or a antagonist, and then you have a group of survivors in that as well. I think it's hard to be the killer, and I appreciate people who put the time into learning the skills of being a killer because it can be really hard, especially when you go against 4 people who may be on the same level, if not more, skilled in the game than you are because you've got 4 brains going against you. And I think as well, my sort of thing with the Friday 13th game is that I would like to play it. I feel like it's very catered because it's so narrow in the theme with it being Friday the 13th. I'm not as big of a Friday the 13th fan to feel like I would really appreciate some of the nuances in it. Especially like, I know the effort that went into it with Kane Hodder doing a lot of the like motion cap for it, for the Jasons, and the like sleeping bag kills and things like that is like his favorite kill. And I also a little fun fact is that when apparently when when Kane Hodder plays the game, he ends up playing as a counselor, not actually as Jason, because he would like to try and see if he would be able to escape Jason if he was ever in that situation, which I think is quite cute. And the fact that it was like a, that it was a Kickstarter, the passions there behind it. It's just a bit sad. It's not really looked after as much anymore. I think it's become a bit of a lost soul in the wake of what Dead by Daylight's kind of bringing to the genre for that kind of game.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure like Friday the 13th, not so long ago, a few months ago, I think it was on PlayStation Plus. It might have been like a year ago or so. And I mean, the only upside to maybe Friday the 13th not doing as well would be eventually you could see it merge into Dead by Daylight, and Jason would then become a playable character because they've already got Freddy Krueger. Like I said, they've got the pig, Amanda, obviously from Saw.
Michael Myers.
Michael Myers from Halloween. And then obviously, as well as all of the villains, you've also got the protagonists. You've got Ash from Evil Dead, Laurie Strode as well. So there's all these different ones. Hopefully that means if Friday the 13th might go into Dead by Daylight, and then
yeah, I think it's one of those ones. It's so widely requested, and obviously the actual like poster boy for Dead by Daylight is the character the Trapper, who is supposed to be like a very loose establishment of their own kind of Jason. He has a machete, he has bear traps that he uses, and he wears a mask over his face that's you can choose to mix up. But I think it is mainly not necessarily the actual, like you're saying, that the hype's there. People want him there. It's just legal licenses, things like that. And this is the thing, is like one of the things with the Dead by Daylight fandom is that they're really big on like get this person in, and it's just literally at any time Dead by Daylight post on any of their socials or even behavior, like the creators of it, it's just literally comment after comment of get this person in, get this character in, get this killer in, rah, rah, rah. And one of the things that always comes up is like I think I don't know if I spoke about this on the actual podcast, but Babyface and Tree from Happy Death Day. I don't know where they would fit. That we already have killers and survivors that are just like them. I don't see why you would want to duplicate those in. But I think a lot of the ones like that people are really really like asking after, these these big icons like Candyman and Chucky and Pinhead from Hellraiser, all these like the Cenobites, whatever. I think people just forget it's licensing. It's not just this exists, so let's take it.
Yeah, just throw them in there.
Just throw them in. It'll be fine. Totally couldn't take being sued by Universal or whoever else. But yeah, I think there's longevity in the game just purely because you could keep bringing in these characters and also creating characters. Dead by Daylight has some fantastic original characters, and people are going to probably hate me for this, but the sort of like the characters that I main as a killer, I don't play killer very often, are usually like the renowned ones that people don't like, but they are original ones for Dead by Daylight. So there's the Hag, and I also play Legion, which is a group of 4, but you can play as like one of the individuals. But I think that I would prefer to see a lot more originals come out as well. As the licensed ones, because I think it's nice to kind of make it its own thing rather than Dead by Daylight just being a hub for licenses. You kind of need to bring that creativity in, and these different ways of like killing survivors, quite aggressive. I don't mean killing, but you know what I mean, like pursuing these survivors to sort of like keep it going. But yeah, I like it. I'm only recently into it, and it was Silent Hill that got me into it because it brought out. I think it's like a year in June, like June just gone was a year since the Silent Hill chapter got put in, and then this year we got Resident Evil. So it's all good in my books, all good.
Oh, what a beautiful transition! So I'm just gonna sit back now, and you can literally just talk about Resident Evil.
I love Resident Evil. I love it. Like I said, I've kind of like, I think especially with like, I love Resident Evil and I love Silent Hill. I watched the films before I even played the games, so I think that that's kind of like I already knew there were video games, and I know everyone's like, "Well, the Resident Evil films are terrible." Shut up! I like them. Okay, shut up! I like the Silent Hill films as well. Both of them. Fight me in the car park about it because I will fight. I just love them. I love that these games, even the older ones, are just so intrinsically made, and there's like, they're just I know they're all like cubey and everything like that in the old games because that's just a platform, but they're just really really pretty, and you can tell that like effort goes into them. Granted, Resident Evil kind of lost the way a bit in the middle. I mean, we had Chris punching boulders in like lava and stuff, and that, yeah, I get that, but we really kind of, it's a good in-depth story. I love it. My favorite Resident Evil games are Resident Evil, the like remaster, for the GameCube, so the like the first one, and Resident Evil Revelations 1. So random, but I just love me some Jill Valentine. What can I say? I love her. I think she's great. And yeah, again, it's the franchise has again longevity because these are characters we don't really know much about them. We know nothing about their life outside of these incidences that they unfortunately keep getting drawn into. But you still want to sit there and have them survive. You still want to play that character. Like, yeah, there's just the people have really strong connections to these characters that are literally very two-dimensional, but you just want to be like, we'll get through this. We'll survive. And like I said, I cried at the end of Village, so I obviously have that. There's like an emotional bond there. But then also, it's one of those franchises that has like some characters where people just have like these like really, well, I say people, me. I just have some really big feelings about some characters that everybody else loves, and I'm just like, no. Chris Redfield, again, fight me in the car park. Can't stand the man. What a wet wipe. Who's my other one? Mia from the most recent games. Oh my god, can't stand the woman. And everyone's like, "Oh no, she's great." No, she's not. But yeah, great games. I love them. The RE engine, all great. Very atmospheric, beautiful games. There you go. My 2 pence in deposited. There you go, in the till.
So, Resident Evil or Silent Hill?
So, I've only just recently played the Silent Hill games. Silent Hill 1 and 2, the films, are my comfort films. So, I really like the Resident Evils, and I've played loads more of them. I really like Silent Hill because, again, they're very beautiful games. I also just like aesthetically how they are, and I do end up not being as big of a zombie fan, so I do think I think aesthetically pleasing, Silent Hill. Story wise, and like just the fact that I've played more games, Resident Evil. They're tied. I can't make me choose.
Did you ever play PT?
I didn't get the chance. So it was around the time where obviously I wasn't really like having the time to play games and things like that, and then it's like pretty much gone. You can't access it anymore, which is really really sad. And I think there's like what
That'll
makes me
shit
laugh.
you up.
Well, yeah, I've seen gameplay of it, and I think the thing that really makes me, there's like there's something about Silent Hill like fandom that's just they're so tired. They just want a new game. That's all they want, and I don't want to put myself into that fandom because obviously, like I said, I'm very new, and I don't feel like I have the right when some of these people have been literally waiting since like 3. Some people have been waiting since Silent Hill 3 because when you get to like Silent Hill 4, it starts to kind of like go a bit wishy-washy, and the license was just ended up being a license by the end of it. I mean, they just brought out skateboards, Silent Hill skateboards, and they're just like, just give me a game. Yeah, I don't know why, but they do the gambling machines, but like Silent Hill themed, and it's like new game coming out, coin machines. And it's like, no, it's not though, is it? It's just gambling with Silent Hills on it, and it's just yeah. I think it's nice. Also alternate endings, and some of them crazy. Love that.
Yeah, I think with PT, for people that don't know, it was a random teaser that they just threw out in the store that you could play, and you're just in an infinite loop, just walking around, and just shit starts going down basically. And it was then turned out it was supposed to be a playable teaser, which is what PT is, for Silent Hills, a brand new game.
Yep.
and then all of a sudden, like I said, nothing came of it. Guillermo del Toro, and was like behind it, like he directed it, and obviously Konami, what's it called?
Hajime as well, who's like, yeah.
Yeah. And like they created this, like Hajime is like amazing. Metal Gear Solid, obviously these Konami games are just phenomenal. For me, I mean, I'm going to go away from horror. You talk about games that need to be made or new games. You need a new Splinter Cell because Splinter Cell is one of the best Ubisoft games ever. And every time Ubisoft do a conference, they're like, "Where's Splinter Cell? Where's Splinter Cell? We don't want another Watch Dogs. We don't want a Division or whatever. We want Splinter Cell," and it never happens. So I can see where most people are with Silent Hill for that. I agree. I've already talked about it, but my favourite's The Last of Us. It has to be. When it first came out on PS3, it just took me like, it's so good. I mean, just before that, I think my favourite game was Heavy Rain, and then The Last of Us came out, and it just blew me away. Then the remaster came out on PS4, which is beautiful, and The Last of Us 2, which I won't talk about as much because I haven't completed it. But if you can see, we've got a little Ellie statue over there. I've got my tattoo there for the Fireflies. It's the gameplay. I know you said that you've watched a few walkthroughs of it, but it's just so good. Like, it's just visually spectacular. Like, some of the sets on it. I mean, the scene with the giraffe is just one of the most beautiful, like, scenery in any video game ever. And this is on PS3. Like, it was just phenomenal. And there's a bit in the train station quite early on in the game, and I think it's the first time we properly meet the clickers. And you've just got to sneak all the way through. The clickers, it's like one of the most awful sounds in the world. Where it's like, it's just like, there you go. There's my clicker impression.
There you go.
Yeah, and they're just amazing. Like some of the best like villains or antagonists in it. You've got runners, you've got clickers, and you've got the bloaters. And Jesus Christ, those bloaters! When you're playing on the hardest difficulty and they're running after you, the amount of times I had to replay some of it was just unreal. But it's just such a great game. Like I said, the storytelling in it is just amazing, and it's PlayStation exclusive, so it makes it even better.
All right, Sony.
And like I said, Naughty Dog has given us some of the best games ever. Last of Us, Uncharted, Uncharted 2, Uncharted 3, Uncharted 4, and Crash Bandicoot.
Oh well, can't forget Crash. I think it's like you say about the different kinds of enemies that you come across. Is something again that's in Silent Hill and both Resident Evil. It's a sign of a good game that you have different levels of these enemies. You end up learning how to work against each enemy, and you can't always just go in there with a shotgun and it'll work on all of them. I always use shotguns in Resident Evil and also Silent Hill. It's just I just have to. They always just work better, but they don't always do the job every time. And I think that's another thing about these kinds of games is that it's a learning experience. You are gaining skills by playing these games because you're logically thinking, how can I get around this? How can I make this work? I think for the thing with like the Last of Us, for you, what brought you to it? What made you see it? So obviously I was introduced to Resident Evil and Silent Hill through the films, but what was it for Last of Us for you that was like, yeah, I'm going to pick that game up?
Naughty Dog.
It was just their track record.
Yeah, I said, I think when it first came out, it was just the rave reviews of it were just like, this is like one of the best games you'll ever play. Naughty Dog, I think before then it was just really, I think they may have done Uncharted, Drake's Fortune. I can't remember which order they came out in, but Naughty Dog and the reviews for that game was just amazing. The trailers just looked amazing, and like I said, it was something. Again, because I don't really play a lot of games, it was something completely different to what I usually play. And back then, like I said, kind of now, it's just mainly FIFA and Call of Duty. That's all I really play. And it was one of my first proper big story games, especially in my, shall we say, adulthood, because it was 2013, which is 8 years ago. So yeah, I was still in my 20s. There you go.
I was leaving sixth form.
There you go.
What? But do you get sweat on with like Last of Us? Do you get nervous? Do you get like does it scare you, or do you think that you're kind of like desensitized to that now?
One of the best things about the PlayStation, I had the wireless PlayStation headset.
Right.
I don't know if they've got the same on Xbox or not, but they have settings for different games.
Mm.
So you can put the Last of Us setting on your headset, you put it on, you can put all the sound for your headset. So I'm just there playing everything through my headset and in the dark just playing it. And there are certain moments where you've got clickers coming at you and runners, and you just hear that sound coming around. You got that bit, like I said, can shit you up, especially if you're playing it like in the dark and stuff. But it's been ages since I played a game in the dark, to be completely honest. The one thing would be Resident Evil in, like, don't get me wrong, like, jump scares in Resident Evil shit you up, especially in VR. Like, you want to get shit, you want to shit
Yeah.
your pants. Play
VR.
play VR Resident Evil. I mean, you might throw up as well because of the motion sickness because of the camera, but yeah, it's
Yeah.
like when you walk into those like Texas Chainsaw Massacre house where you got those guys like
Yeah, you're talking about 7, aren't you? The
yeah,
biohazard
Village.
one.
Is it Village?
No,
No,
Village
what's
is
it
8.
called? Biohazard. Yeah,
Biohazard,
Biohazard.
yeah.
Yeah, like that's just don't play in VR.
So like, from my perspective, I feel like. So people are like, why can you just sit there and watch horror films where people literally get like torn to pieces and it doesn't bother you? And I'm like, I don't know. I'm just kind of desensitized to it. The first time I played Resident Evil 2, like the reboot one, it was literally I played Leon first because obviously got to play my boy, got to play my husband. I was playing Leon, and there's just literally I ran past a zombie and I was in a room, and then I had to put I jumped because a zombie literally like booted the door in, which I hadn't had in like a game before. It was like very aggressively. It wasn't just like open the door, let itself in. It was like boot the door in. It's in. And I jumped and I went, "Ah!" And I like threw my controller in the air, but it paused at the same time. And then the screen, you could just see there was my character stood there, and like the zombie was just like inches away from him, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna get eaten the minute I'm paused that. And it's just stuff like that. And then like they say things like oh yeah, like Mr. X can't get you when you're in like a safe area, for example. I remember one time I was Claire and he was chasing me, and he chased me into a safe room, and when I say he yeeted me through the door frame, like I opened the door to leave thinking he'd left because he'd stopped, because you hear him like walking, so he'd stopped and I didn't realize. When I opened the door and it was literally just like boom, arm straight in. He wasn't in the safe room, his arm was, and I was on the other end of it because the eye was just gone. And I was like, oh god, oh my, I've just died and been reborn. That was terrifying. Oh my god. But yeah, they make me jump. They make me jump. They're like the only things that make me jump. Second playtime, fine. First time, no.
Yeah, I think there's definitely some stuff in Evil Within that probably made me jump. Like I said, playing it for the first time, not knowing what to expect.
Yeah.
I remember there was a bit where you had to walk down a corridor and you walk in, and all of a sudden some shit happens and it just comes at you. And you're like, Jesus fucking Christ, and you're like trying to run away from it. But
Is that like when you meet Laura? The
no
like
idea.
long-haired character, and she's like scrambling down the corridor, and I was like,
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it could be. Yeah.
But then I was like, the thing is as well, like Evil Within is that
I'm
like
pretty sure I've got a video of that somewhere, of that clip.
probably we
I'm
should
gonna
put
have
it.
to
We should
find
put it. We'll put it on the Insta. Put it on the Insta. But also there was like Evil Within, when you meet Ruvik, and he, you know, like he's like kind of like shapeshifts in time to like catch up with you. I didn't know what to do, so I'm not even joking. I probably died about 4 times because I thought I just had to push past him, and he just killed me off every time. 4 times. I am stupid. I was like, no, Emma, run away. Other direction. You can't go this way right now. And I was like, no, persevere.
I will get through him.
Yeah, literally.
So
but yeah.
I know there's the last question is, which horror movie or franchise do you want to see as a video game? I know a lot with this, a lot of movie franchise have been made games. They did the Saw video game. I think they even did a second Saw game.
Mm.
They've done Friday the 13th, Resident Evil, Silent Hill. So it takes a lot of them out there for you. And sometimes it does the other way around. Like sometimes they'll have the video game first, like Doom, and then they'll make a Doom film. So from what's left, or if you want to remake one, which horror movie or franchise do you want to see as a video game?
See, this is the thing. I think now that technology has like grown more, I think we could. I think Nightmare on Elm Street could get redone, in a kind of like, you're playing this character, you're going through these different. It's similar to like Silent Hill, where it changes. You're going through like a what you think is a normal area, but obviously you're in like some sort of dream state, and there's like different AI killer like coming after you, but then you can change into like the boiler room, and then you have a Freddy. It's kind of probably similar to like Mr. X in the Resident Evil games, which is just constantly hounding you until you get to the end, and then you actually get into some sort of like fight with them. I think because there has been games in the past, and I think they kind of ended up just being like platforms side scrollers, and they weren't really, there wasn't really a lot of meat to them. But I think now modern day with what we've got as like a video game industry could do something really nice with Freddy. What about you?
It's my exact same answer, but I'm thinking
Oh no!
I've got a little bit different now. I'm thinking maybe Freddy as the character rather than the other way around, where you actually have to go around killing people. Maybe, I don't know.
So more of a standalone game compared to what he currently does in Dead by Daylight.
Yeah, so basically you're Freddy Krueger and you have to go around and I don't know how it would work. I mean, you have like these Mario games where you have to get to each level and collect a certain amount of, like Sonic, you have to collect rings, don't you? Why not? Let's collect souls on the way.
Collect dreams.
Collect dreams.
Nightmares.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think
I don't know.
I was thinking about this the other day as well. Is that like, Resident Evil Village has kind of brought in that in a roundabout way, not really, but has kind of like brought into the industry of like old school horror like people, so like vampires and werewolves. And I think I mean, I'll use my pillow as an example. Maybe some sort of like werewolf game of like, I think Bloodborne actually might already be something similar to that. There is sort of these like Lovecraftian old school like villains and things like that, but maybe something a bit. I think we have a modern day vampire which kind of looks just a bit like an alien, disheveled. We don't really have a lot of these like what we would regard as a vampire in like horror movie genres, where it's a human but they can change and they have like super abilities and things like that. That would be quite interesting.
Yeah. I think, like I said, because there's been so many nowadays, and I'm thinking with a lot of Hollywood movies, especially, they do have so many multimedia within there. So it's most likely going to get a video game, or they basically say kind of. I think I'm not sure if this is the thing anymore, but it used to be the movie is just a really expensive advertisement for the game.
Yeah, I get that.
And that's what it used to be. I mean, so who knows? Like I said, they've done most franchises, horror franchises anyway, as a video game. So Nightmare on Elm Street, I can't remember there being one. Like I said, there might have been some really early on in like a Nintendo 64 or something. Or
yeah, I was literally just about to say I think it was the NES. Might have even been the SNES.
Yeah, but in Nightmare on Elm Street, Freddy's Dead, he plays like a little video game bit in it, doesn't he? Where's that word? You know, I beat my high score.
Okay. I haven't made it that far in the Nightmare on Elm Streets. I'm sorry.
What?
I haven't made it to 5. Sorry. I know.
No, I've got 2 more to watch. 5, 6, 7. You're done.
5, 6, 7.
Well, yeah, I thought you watched number 5. So
no,
you haven't watched 5.
No, I think I've only seen the beginning of 4. I think because I think does 4 start off with the people from the previous one from Dream Warriors?
Yeah, most of them are in that one. Yeah.
yeah, then I've only seen the beginning of that one. I haven't seen all of that one. I will. They're on my list to be watched. I've not had the chance to watch it. Also, Dream Warriors is my favorite, so I can't really.
It's a fan favorite Dream Warriors. The only thing, obviously, it gave Patricia Arquette her start, but she's obviously
Oh
not in the
yeah,
fourth one. She got recast because she didn't want to come
yeah,
back to the fourth one.
but yeah.
Yeah, that's it for horror video games. So join us next week where what we will be doing. What are we going to be reviewing next time?
The Descent. I had to think then. I was like, I haven't got my notes, but it's
What
The
is it?
Descent. So it's what is it? What's it? The box. The choice is mine this time. So we went for a film, whereas Jamie went for a film that he had seen that I haven't, with Happy Death Day. This time it's my turn, so I chose The Descent, which was already on Jamie's need to watch list. So we will be watching the 2006, I want to say, British horror film, The Descent, and just talking about it, having a chin wag.
Having a chin wag indeed. But in the meantime, you can follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Bloody Brilliant Podcast. We are trying to, well, I say we, I'm trying to be a little bit more active on it now. I try. I mean,
He
we are
provides
trying to,
content, but he's a busy man. It's fine.
I'm a busy man. We try and provide content on there, and you can always like, subscribe. You got any messages? Don't agree with anything that we say? You can always let us know as well, and we'll block you. But it's fine. But like I said, you can follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Bloody Brilliant Podcast. You can watch all of our episodes on YouTube at Bloody Brilliant Podcast, and of course, we are live on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and Deezer, wherever you find your podcasts.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you for listening. Much appreciated, and we do appreciate those who continually listen as well. We do see you, and we do see your interactions with our posts, so we do appreciate it.
Yes. So we will see you in The Descent.
Ooh.